I'm Jason Green, and
I'm Shadic Anderson.
And we are back with episode 2 of Shougai, our disability podcast. I'm really, really excited for today. What have you done, Shadic, in the past week?
Man, so I'm just now getting back from Washington, D.C., so it's been pretty busy. Went out there with Student Veterans of America to do some veteran advocacy, and we definitely got a lot of stuff done. Met with multiple different congressional representatives, senators, and stuff like that to push the veterans' agenda, especially with all the things that's currently going on. So it's been pretty chaotic, but definitely glad to be back in California, taking a seat and whatnot, because Washington, D.C. is fun, don't get me wrong. But it was pretty cold out there. It was pretty cold.
You were almost like you left by the time chaos ensued over there.
Yeah, 100%. Like my flight, I flew in back to LAX around like 9 in the morning, and my flight out from Dulles Airport in DC was about 5:30. So it's been pretty rough, and then having to catch back up on everything. But it's definitely feels good to be back. I feel rejuvenized for sure, and I feel ready to rock and roll.
So what was the exciting part of your trip?
Being able to talk policy face to face with the ones that's actually the movers and shakers, if you will, of Congress, the ones that's really pushing agendas. Being able to come with them and see their processes and stuff like that. Talking with their staffers and understanding the protocol and stuff that's required to make sure the votes and stuff pass in the House. So we definitely went over quite a bit of stuff. I actually was able to sit down in the Committee of Veterans Affairs, the joint session. So that was awesome. So I was able to meet with Ranking Member Moran, and it was a good time. It was definitely a good time.
What policies were discussed?
Policies that were discussed, well, obviously everyone in the veteran community, and even once it's out, because someone might have a friend, relative, or someone that's affected by this in some sort of fashion, right? So things that we went over is the cut to VA healthcare. A lot of veterans are pretty much in a bind right now, from healthcare to benefits not being properly paid out on time to educational benefits not being paid out. So people are they're hurting. You know, there's veterans that haven't gotten paid since the beginning of the year, and we're already rolling on to March. So those are major discrepancies, because at the end of the day, like, this is, for the most part, people's lifeline, you know, especially when they're trying to go to school. They're tied to trying to focus on either school or figuring out a way how to make ends meet. And that should not be the case whatsoever. You know, we put on that uniform to protect and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And at this point, it's like a domestic attack, you know, for the ones that took that oath, you know, for the ones who raised their hand and said, yeah, let's do it. It's kind of offensive, you know. So for me to be able to speak with said members and stuff like that, that was super impactful, because I was able to see the impacts the following day, you know, where senators were able to go and speak about veterans' issues actually on the House floor, you know, and to hear our issues that we just had conversation about the day prior being spoken on the House floor, that's powerful, you know, because we're able to make that impact. And I tell any and everyone, like, meet up with your congressional representatives. They work for you, and it is not the other way around.
Because you always see them like socially, like, oh, we support our veterans, but what do you actually support?
Exactly.
So I feel like, so when actually on the floor, speaking on these things, it's real, it's genuine for the for veterans in the community,
absolutely,
and for the politicians themselves.
100%.
So it's kind of like they have to kind of hold the award.
Most definitely. And for them to see us, and like, we're one thing about the veteran community, or meet anyone that served in the military, you know, they'll tell you, and they're usually pretty transparent, and they'll tell you exactly what it is up front. But at the same time, some of us go super internal, and we'll just keep that pack on of all the stress and nonsense on all day, every day, until it finally breaks and kills over, you know? And that's something that I wholeheartedly believe should not be the case. We should be allowed to, go seek the help when we need the help. That option should always be there for us. And we should not have to go through all these extra hurdles and whatnot. Because by all means, the VA program, it wasn't the best. However, it was in progress of becoming something great. Nothing's perfect, but it was in the progress of making some major changes.
And what is not making progress right now in the United States
exactly
is our healthcare system.
100%.
Oh my. Okay. I have been looking online and besides the veteran community as well. I looked at the different disability organizations, and every single one, the top priority right now has been looking at Medicaid and Medicare.
Absolutely.
And because there's been a lot of cuts, there's been plans to cut it.
100%.
A lot of it recently.
Yeah.
And it's very, very scary because over 11 million disabled people rely on Medicaid.
100%.
And then much more people are combining those two, because once you're older, you're more likely to get a disability too.
Absolutely.
So that's very, very concerning, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're just gonna end up dead. What are you going to do if you can't afford to just afford to take care of yourself, even though you really want to?
Absolutely.
It's really scary.
And it's the same thing with the veteran community. 1.75 million veterans are also on Medicare, Medicaid, and stuff, and that's a substantial number. And imagine the ramification of contracts being cut and veterans aren't able to see their healthcare provider. It's already a stretch as is, depending on where your location is. I'm fortunate because I can go to the VA, which is literally next door. Compared to other people in different states and stuff, the VA can be 50, 60 miles away, and that may not even be an alternative for them, where they need to get a life-changing surgery or whatever have you, getting their prescriptions done. That's a stretch, and they shouldn't have to go, to Narnia in order for them to get that treatment, So that's my thing. Let's try to make it more accessible for the veteran and for the people who actually need the service, instead of making it more regressive and people not being able to have the service when they need it, because that's alone is a major deterrent. And
then when you also look as well, you said 30% of veterans. 30% of veterans represent the federal government.
100%.
Yeah, and so I feel like they're getting punished. In a way, it seems like they're getting punished in my. And
it's unfortunate because, to your point, that's absolutely true. 30% of the federal workforce is veterans. Yeah. People who got out of the service and decided that their service wasn't over for them, so they continued on. At the federal level, they continued to try to attempt to make that initiative and whatnot to continue to serve their country, and ultimately, it's like a black eye for them. People who served this country not only in uniform, but then went and put on a suit and tie, to do whatever the country asks for them at that moment. I think that they deserve special recognition, because that does take a very special person,
I remember you said that, and I think you said it last episode. Well, they kind of have the veterans have the feeling of still serving the country, and
service after service.
Yeah. And so it's kind of it seems like, oh, we really want to walk. In our government.
Absolutely.
But the government doesn't like us, even though we still love them. It's kind of
100%.
It's kind of like a loop. Oh, let's work for you, but when they not get support,
100%.
Still work for them.
Yeah.
So it's it's kind of stuck right now. And then when I looked at Medicaid recently, the requirements for it is I think they have new work requirements. But the problem with that is people already work.
Exactly.
So why? I feel like having these requirements does more damage.
Definitely
to people's qualifications.
100%.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more, because for our community, my community as a veteran that also has disabilities and whatnot, I'm fortunate enough to still be able to get up, rock and roll, do whatever I need to do and whatnot. So that I'm fortunate, and I'm very grateful for that. But there's others that cannot. Like I also a member at Veterans of Foreign Wars, so VFW Post 7243 up in Hawaiian Gardens. And there's literal veterans that have, like, oxygen tanks, and they're dealing with stuff from their time, fighting a war overseas and stuff, and they're struggling. They can't even make it to a meeting because they don't have the proper, necessities to make sure they're taking care of their health. They're doing extra things, partnering with different organizations because the VA doesn't have the funding, so the VA will send them somewhere else. And that should not be the case, especially when these are Vietnam veterans. Granted, they already dealt with enough, when they did their little homecoming, they already dealt with enough. Let's try to make their life a little bit easier,
Didn't you also say recently to that 80,000 employees from the VA were fired or let go recently?
Man, it's very, very rough. So essentially what's currently going on is the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, sent out a mandate to the VA saying hey, we're gonna have you cut down. So you need to downsize. So last week they proposed to cut 875 VA contracts, which is substantial. And this is all being cut from healthcare, so it can range from you going to see your provider that's a little closer and they say, okay, no, you can no longer do that. You need to go all the way, 40, 50 miles north or south or wherever you're located. Or, here's a surgery that you possibly need, but now the VA is not going to cover it, something like that. So these are major things. And it went from 875 contracts being cut down to 585 contracts, which is still a substantial amount. And again, the VA, they're hurting. One of the big things that I spoke with Congressman Young Kim about when I was in D.C. over the weekend was the VRNE program. VRNE is called is Voc Rehab, we call. So essentially, is a program that assists veterans with disabilities to get back in the workforce. It's not an educational program per se, but it's a program to assist you with figuring out what occupation you can get into successfully without continuing to aggravate your disability, right? So you'll take your little aptitude test and all that other stuff to figure out what you qualify for, and then from there, they'll take care of everything else, right? The issue with the program now is staffing. Staffing.
We just let go of so many people.
And we just let go so many people. 1,000, VA workers over there in Atlanta was cut, a couple of weeks ago and stuff. These are major issues, and one of the problems that they're running into is that workload, where you got one case manager or caseworker that's supposed to service 185, 87 veterans. That's not feasible. You got to take into consideration the timings, making sure you're meeting those meetings with the veteran, make sure they're getting taken care of. You got to make sure you're properly certifying their benefits and stuff to make sure they get paid at the beginning of the month so they can pay for their food and all that other jazz. You want to make sure they're taking care of their health, so you want to make sure they're making appointments and stuff. And imagine doing all those things for 187 people. That is a lot.
Yeah, that's overwhelming. That's
exactly.
For even for one person, and then so with all these groups of people, that's why you have multiple workers.
Exactly.
But then as you cut down, you put more stress on them, and they can't perform as well, and so it affects them, which then obviously affects the veterans.
Absolutely.
And they can't, and so. Now I feel like now everyone is now at a disadvantage. It seems.
Absolutely, and it's super unfortunate because at the end of the day, we just want to get stuff done. We just want to feel that the same trust, honor, love, courage, commitment, all that jazz that we emanated to the country is reciprocated back to us. We want to make sure that we're taken care of just like we took care of our job, when it was our time to do whatever we needed to do. There was no questions, comments, concerns about that, when we did our part. So let's keep that same standard moving forward.
And what do you know anyone personally who has been affected by this as well? Besides,
Yeah. man, there's so many veterans here, to be transparent, that's also like dealing with VR&E issues. And it is not I can't stress it enough. This is not the school, and it's not like the counselors per se. It's the ability for the counselor not being able to do their job due to the strenuous workload that's put on them. And I feel as though if there's more focus on that, these are things that tie into veterans' healthcare. You know, the VR&E program is there for a disabled veteran to get back on their feet in order to become a successful, you know, citizen of this great country. You know, if we want to identify, you know, things that we need to do better, let's take care of the people that help build this country. Yeah. You know, like those are key wickets for sure.
Yeah, the most dedicated.
Yeah.
The most dedicated people struggle the most as well. It's like I also looked at because health, obviously your health affects your entire life. Obviously.
Most definitely.
Yeah, every aspect of your life. Yeah, but I was looking at it as well because you know how you said there's a lot of veterans who are in the federal workforce.
Absolutely.
Recently as well, there's been they kind of got rid of remote jobs.
Yeah.
Recently, which I feel is very concerning because they're all people, veterans and other citizens who can work really well. It's just that they can't really, but being in person doesn't really help them.
100%.
And they can perform really well outside of that.
Yeah.
It's just they still work.
Yeah.
But it's just a different way of working.
Absolutely.
And so I feel like it's really disappointing to see that recently.
Yeah.
So many people are gonna lose a job.
And it's very unfortunate because like these are people that still work. Like they work, and it doesn't make any sense for anyone to just try to get rid of people without doing proper evaluation of their job performance and whatnot. Like there should be proper, you know, evals and stuff that's getting done and stuff like that. So those are your checks and balances that should have been in place from the get-go to ensure that things were getting done accordingly anyway. However, the issue that we're running into now is that people are just getting fired and then rehired back and getting fired again.
It's like they don't know. There's so much uncertainty. That's
100%.
The scary part of that.
Yeah, and it's wild because like it doesn't make any logical sense to me because at the end of the day, like these jobs still need to get filled because just because you're getting rid of them because you believe that it doesn't accommodate the situation or it's not good enough or it's not efficient for sake of argument, without doing a proper analysis of what the purpose of that position was from the get-go, and you're just getting rid of it, it's going to have ripple effects because then you're going to see things start going the opposite direction. You're going to see, for sake of argument, veterans getting let go after, you know, thinking that they were safe. Like, oh, this cannot affect me. But best to believe it does because we, as like a veteran, we play one of the biggest factors in the whole DEI field. Yeah. You know, like we do get a lot of benefits that's not given to everyone else. Yeah. You know, so we're on
understandably so. Yeah. There's so many different circumstances with that.
100%.
Disability and then like other mental health and then
absolutely
physical like struggles as well.
100%.
So yes, I mean so when people mention DEI. Well, yes, it can come off like really negative. Yeah. But there is a reason why it exists, though.
Absolutely. There's definitely reasons why it existed. Like we could take a little stroll back to, you know, World War II, like when we rolled out the GI Bill and stuff like that. The GI Bill was implemented and it assisted us in becoming one of the strongest economies at the time because we were able to give people that was willing to put their life on the line for this country a breath of hope, you know, that this country thanks you for your service, you know, and I truly believe, like, if we can put that same, like, touch, not only to the veteran community, but to the communities at large, imagine how strong of an economy we'll be able to truly build, you know? Like, we were the scapegoats, you know? We were the ones that, not scapegoats, but we were the guinea pigs, you know? We were the ones this program was rolled out for us. And look what we was able to do with that program. you know,
be
like
successful.
Exactly.
But now I feel like it's like now like DEI is the enemy of the country. Apparently the enemy of the country.
Yeah.
And now I would say though with Doge, I feel like it should be the Department of Government Eradication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree. Because it's crazy. You can't just get rid of things and just say it's efficient, you know, without doing a proper analysis of these things. And by analysis, I think people who actually have experience in the field and not just kids, you know, straight out of high school or like that has barely any experience, you know, like you got to get your feet wet in this. You know, you got to truly know the ins and outs, the intricacies of what's going on. Man, you got to know what's going on in order to properly make the cuts, you know? And they don't have that. You know, they don't have that. And we're just going around just doing things. Why? You know? And look at the stock market. You know, stock market's crashing over tariffs. Like, hello?
Yeah, recently they were the tariffs are delayed now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they know. Because
100%.
Yeah, because they know it's not good.
Yeah.
We have ruined our relationship with some countries.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like, Fox News, Sundays with Maria Bartiromo, they literally did an investigative journalism piece where she sent someone out, one of the investigative journalists out to one of the local car dealerships, and the dealer was straight up and honest. He was like, "Hey, like I had a customer here willing to buy $80,000 truck, and now he doesn't want any pieces of it because I had to mark the truck up by an extra $20,000. So now that $80,000 truck is not going to cost this man over 100 G's. That doesn't equate to me. No. You know, like if we're truly going to want to, like, that doesn't make any sense. How is this supposed to ease the pain and tension off the American people when you hit them with a dumbbell to the head? You know, like it doesn't equate to anything, and it just screws a lot of things up.
And then back to DEI.
Yeah.
I want to mention that if DEI did not exist, so many people, all people with disabilities, already struggle getting jobs. Just 100%. Imagine what's gonna happen without it.
Like, people just think DEI is just a window for just anyone to get hired into a position. Like, it's a little more than that, because it's almost like a protective shield against you being discriminated against because of your skin color, your disability, or whatever have you, right? And that's valid. Like, that should be a form of protection, because you shouldn't be discriminated against, you know?
For these are immutable things about you. This is who you are.
Exactly. And this isn't something you can't just go to the gym and work, you know? You can't train this.
It's like, I feel also when it comes to DEI, I feel like you shouldn't also don't lower the challenges. People can walk.
100%.
People with disabilities and people with disabilities can walk exactly the same as you, same as anyone who doesn't have a disability.
I wholeheartedly agree.
And I feel like it's quite offensive to say that, oh, they got this job because of DEI. No, they didn't. They got it because they're actually really good at walking.
Exactly.
And DEI, while some may be against it, look at some people have accomplished because of it.
100%.
There's so many, like I saw this I see this one journalist. He was I think he was blind. And he was very successful, but without anti-discrimination policies, he probably wouldn't even been a journalist.
Exactly.
Because he can't do these things.
Yeah.
And
he would immediately been shelved.
Yeah. It's very, very, I feel, and for me, as someone who wants to be a journalist, I feel generally void. I mean, I believe I believe that I can still do the job exactly as a non-disabled journalist.
And I wholeheartedly agree.
But I would also have to say that I'm also different, but I can still do the job.
100%.
But I don't want to have to worry about being discriminated against because I exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more. Like, I believe, like, just because you have a disability, like I said, it's almost like whiteout.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like whiteout DEI, if you will, because people are going to look at you and, like, what you're gone through and what's going on, you know, and you're able to just cover it up. Yeah. And it just takes that away, and it just puts you on the same level. Yes. For the employer, if someone's just looking at two names on a, you know, for an application for a job, yeah. You know, they won't be able to look at you and be like, oh, well, this person has X, Y, and Z, but this person doesn't. That literally puts you on an equal playing field in order to get the job. I believe, like, that's the purpose of DEI, to elevate people to the same playing field as the rest of us, you know, to ensure that they are taken care of just like someone else that didn't have a disability, you know?
And for me, I really, really love writing. Also because my major, it's basically my major in my career. But one thing I really like about writing in general is that you can't see someone's disability.
100%.
You can't see. So I love that because I struggle with verbal communication. Yeah. Which is actually kind of funny because I'm doing a podcast, but on a radio show. Yeah. But it's really I feel like. Yes, I want equality. Yeah. Equality with disabled.
That's 100%. Like, that's the purpose behind the organization. Well, not organizations, like programs targeting like DEI and stuff. Yeah. You know, it's built and it's implemented so you can be on the same playing field as someone that didn't suffer from the things that you suffered from, because they shouldn't be. You shouldn't be a prisoner of your past. You know, you shouldn't be a prisoner of your disability, you know, to your disability and stuff like that. You and whatever you go through, y'all live with that, you know, in unison. You know, you don't need a reminder, you know? And I feel as though, like, that's the problem. Like, we hone in and we hyper focus on things, and that's what shuts us out of so many things, you know?
Like for me... even though I want to be in the disability field, I don't say like, oh, I'm disabled. I say I'm a journalist, for example.
There you go.
Yeah, I look back on my articles I've written, because I have written for the Long Beach Current.
Love that.
Kind of, then I worked and I also wrote articles for my community college, and then I have like internships right now.
That's awesome.
And I'm writing for them too.
Yeah.
So I look back at that like, I can do the work. I just need some sort of accommodation or some better understanding.
Exactly.
And I feel like besides equality that DEI could possibly give, it also gives better understanding.
Exactly.
Because you just cannot get rid of someone because they just can't do that. I mean, I don't think I mean based off that, I feel like DI shows the reality that people are different, and people will always be different. Yeah. And that people with different like, you know, circumstances can still be the same, and they can still have the same job.
Absolutely.
And perform just as well or even better.
I definitely agree.
And so back on a conversation with healthcare, do you have any personal experiences where you were really annoyed with because of like your disability, because of having a disability?
Again, I'm very fortunate. I'm grateful. Like, the healthcare system with the VA has been like amazing for me. Prior to me getting out of prior to me coming or going back to school and stuff like that, I was working for 24 Hour Fitness. I was a senior manager for them. So working in the fitness industry, super cool. I definitely dig it. But I was suffering from injuries and stuff. I had a 9mm foreign body lodged in the subscapular region of my shoulder, and it needed to come out. So that was a pretty big deal and whatnot. And it was there, and I just never knew about it. So once, I just couldn't move my arm. Well, I could move it, but there was just constantly grinding, popping, and all that other stuff. I went in, got an x-ray done. They're like, hey, you got some issues that we need to get sorted out. And that's when I truly started focusing more, my health. Yeah. Know what I mean? Because we're only here, we only got one chance to do this, you know?
And then you're gone.
Yeah, you got one opportunity to be the best version of yourself, and you owe it to yourself to take care of it, you know? Like, I want to make sure that one day when I have kids, you know, and they'll have kids and all that other stuff, I'm still here, you know, to be there, to share that opportunity. So why not, like, focus on my health, you know what I mean? And by me being able to go and advocate for, like, other veterans to do the exact same thing, that warms my heart, and that's motivating to me. Because giving a helping hand to my fellow brother and sister, regardless of what branch of service they served in, or even if they even served in the military in general, you know, that's what matters at the end of the day. And I believe that's also a part of the American dream. You know, actually caring for your fellow American, you know, regardless of who they are.
Because people forget we are the United States,
100%.
not just states.
100%.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
I could not agree more. Like, time and time again, like, we forget that in theory we should be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes.
Not just justice for the onesies and twosies who can get away with doing these crimes and stuff. You know, it should be firm across the board, you know, and we should actually care enough about society to make an impact, you know, a positive one. And stop being individuals, you know? Like, it's totally fine to go, you know, and kick it with people that you don't even know. You know, like, if you're having lunch, you know, pull up a chairs, you know, be polite about it, you know? Don't be awkward. But, you know, talk to someone new, you know, try to make a new friend. You know, like, those are things that actually
embody.
Exactly. That's what embodies, for me, what it means to be an American. You know, one that truly cares about his fellow man and women. You know, like, I care enough that I want to go into politics and I want to advocate for all my Americans, regardless if, you know, we served in uniform together, we grew up together back in Newark, New Jersey, whether we met over here in Southern California. You know, like, I want to advocate for all you guys, because you guys all had an impact on me and my growth and my development. You know, as a veteran who happens to have a couple disabilities and stuff, you know, you guys inspire and influence me just as much as I do for others. So that's what it means, you know?
Wow, that's so powerful. Oh my gosh, Shadic, wow, oh my gosh, wow. You got me, oh. Wow, I don't know. Yeah, talking about my own story with healthcare. Wow, okay. Wow, it's not gonna be as great, but wow, oh my gosh, wow. But for me, one problem I do have with healthcare was actually with my teeth, surprisingly, because I had to get my wisdom teeth removed, but because of my blood pressure and my past history of heart conditions, I had to be in a hospital. I had to go to a hospital to get my wisdom teeth removed.
Oh, wow.
And so
that's intense.
So it's really, really expensive.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you know, going on anesthesia, being in a hospital just to get your teeth removed
100%.
is like so expensive.
Yeah.
But then the problem was that the people, my insurance, like, and people who are trying to get the insurance, like, couldn't handle it. Yeah. And like, and I don't think the insurance company wanted to cover it because they didn't see it as like necessary, and it's really, really, I feel like that's kind of horrible, because if I didn't, I would be in pain for like right now. And that's and so I had to wait a year. to get my wisdom teeth removed after the initial consultation for it.
Yeah, like, so, that's wild.
Yeah, just imagine if I had a more severe disability and they rejected that. I actually saw something on Reddit too. Yeah. There's this one person who had like all these different disabilities, and they were still rejected from SSI.
Bro, that's lunacy to me.
So not only is there a delay in healthcare, but there's also a delay in Social Security as well, which is an entirely different issue.
Yeah,
but I feel like right now the road we're on right now does not support disabled people.
I feel that. like I can feel that to a degree, especially speaking from like the community in which that I'm from. Man, it's like there's always cuts to healthcare, VA healthcare and whatnot. When in all actuality, they need more staffing, they need more funding, they need to make sure staff is properly trained to handle appropriate caseloads. Like, there's a lot of work that needs to be done that taking people away will not fix the issue. It's only going to exacerbate the issue tenfold, and that's my problem. Let's stop trying to break it. And let's actually fix the problem.
So today, episode 2, guys. That was a lot. Wow.
It was good.
Wow.
It was good.
Any other things you want to mention before we go back and like hide into episode 3?
Oh yeah, man. Just definitely go ahead and check us out. We're gonna be rock and rolling every other Thursday at 2 p.m.
Yes.
Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
What you want to promote your socials?
So you can go ahead and check me out at Andersonian_the_great on good old Instagram.
And then you can check out the Shougai.podcast, Shougai.podcast on Instagram as well. And we also have a YouTube channel called Shougai.podcast. So
Alrighty, guys. Well, this has been an awesome time with you.